Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners.
This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up! Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry. Galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in school. This is War Cry. Candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
I know who goes before me. I know who stays behind. The God of Israel's army is always by my side.
Hi, family. Hi, welcome back. This is War Cry, and we have a lot of things to talk about today. I know you've been looking at the news, social media. You've been wondering what is going on, and so have a lot of other people been wondering. But our primary objective is to pray for our children. This is War Cry for our children. So we want to deal with that first. If you have any children that you want us to pray for, please contact us at our email, warcry.children@gmail.com. warcry.children@gmail.com. We have a praying wall. We put the children's name there. We have warriors that pray for our kids. We've got to stay on this wall and continue to intercede for our kids. This is War Cry for our children. This is War Cry for social justice. This is War Cry for the churches. This is War Cry against women abuse. This is War Cry. And someone has got to come out of there political correct status and start crying loud for the things that are going on. This is war cry. This is not the wives of New York or the wives of LA. This is not an unreality reality show. This is our real reality. Now, you don't believe it? Then you go on social media and you see what's going on all across this world. And if we don't speak up, who will? Who will? We need the people to come out and to start speaking up and against all these things that are happening. This is war cry. This is not a time to get comfortable. This is not a time to say, well, it's not my child. This is not a time to say, it doesn't affect me. It's going to affect all of us. This is war cry for peace, war cry for understanding, war cry for against injustices. This is war cry. You need to take off those glasses and know that the whistle is blowing. This is war cry. Game over. This is the reality of the show. They're building more prisons. They're building more juvenile homes. It looks like it's the right against the left against the right, the Democrats against the Republic. It looks like Israel against Gaza. It looks like, and it is our reality. And God has called us for a time like this to speak up. We're an urban radio station. You can definitely support us. You can subscribe to us. This is not like any other station that you've ever seen. We deal with the reality of it, and we deal with our problems and the problems that we are encountering today. This is war cry. You better check it out and stay woke. Okay, let's bring the guest on. This is war cry. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning,
Good
Pastor Payne.
morning.
How are you doing today? This is war
Excellent.
cry.
Fine. Thank you.
And
Excellent. Excellent.
how do you feel about the title war cry for our children? How do you feel?
I feel great about that. We have to cry out, cry loud, and spare not. And that's what it is. We got to call in a war. And we got war against sin. We got war against hatred. We got war against so many different things. We're crying out for our children. We need to cry out for our children. We got to cry out for our children because those are our future. And if they leave us now before time, it's up to us. So that's why we got to cry out and cry loud.
Yeah, premature death. Let me tell you something. Whether you, audience, community, subscribe to fight or not, it's still a war going on. See,
Definitely.
when you really enlist in the army of the kingdom of God, you've subscribed that you will be fighting for injustice and fighting for Christ. But it appears that sometimes the church don't understand that. Regardless of whether you fight or not, there's a war going on between good and evil, and it's taking place in the spiritual world even now as we speak. There are things happening that you can't say. We got principalities lingering over our communities, and we got government officials, we got churches in those communities, and they're not going out praying and capturing what God has told us to do. Back at you, Pastor.
Well, you know what it is because you look at the enemy. They're out there. They recruiting gangs. Hear me out in schools and different ones. They recruiting people. We as a church got to do the same thing. We got to go out and start getting people out off the street. It's up to us. Come out of the four walls, come out of the pews, and start hitting streets. That's what we got to do. The Bible says go into all the world. Our neighborhoods, we have to be effective, and we can get some of our young people. A lot of young people out there that don't want to be in gang, but they found no one else to like take them in. No one else to show them care. So that's one of the reasons why they go to a gang, to have a family. But if the church will take them in as a family and start going into the streets, start telling them to put the guns down and give them something to do. But we have to get after our city officials. Give them something to do. Put back PAL. Put back the school. Double Dutch. We used to have different kind of programs to keep the kids off the street. We have nothing now to keep them off the street. So we have to get behind our politicians.
And let me say something. It's when we have our churches and our communities and we have gang violence running rapid, we have the highest rates of paternity, drug dealers just standing on the corner. Sometimes they sit on the church steps, whiskey bottles all around, smoke shops in our community. It really looks like the church is weak. But I'm here to tell my listeners that the church is the most powerful institution in this whole world because our CEO is no other than Jesus Christ himself, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Now, the people in the church act weak, they act powerless, but the church shall never lose its power. And when we begin to operate in our power and let the drug dealers, let the people in the communities know that we're going to take it by force. We're going to show ourselves visible. We put on our clergy clothes. We get our Bible, which is the sword, and let us begin to walk around our communities and show every principality, every demon there that the church is alive. And we're going to fight for the welfare of our communities, our churches, our children. That's what we need. See, it should be no reason why a church, a drug-infested neighborhood comes in the community where there are churches. It should be no reason.
Amen. True.
It should be no reason
You know what's
that
sad?
we're allowed to have. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what's so
Go
sad?
ahead, Pastor.
Everyone knows that the church has. Everybody knows the church has power, but the church. Think about this one: clergy, the police department. Who they call on to go into the neighborhood? The church. The mayor of New York City. Who did he calls on to buffet the people? The church. The elected officials come to the church because they know the church has power, but the church people themselves don't know that they have the power. Think about that one. Everyone comes to the church
Mm,
because they believe the church could do something, but the church itself do not do anything. We sit back and we got all the power.
mm,
If you notice with the different things that's going on in the city, they will come to the church, and the church can fight against many different things. That's why they come to the church. Think about it. Election time, you're going to see officials and all them coming to the church because they know the church got power, and they know the church has a lot of people backing them. That's why they come to the church. And then with the gun violence and all like that, we could put a stop to that. But we got to be voiceful out there. We can't keep our mouth shut.
we got
If we
to
look
be
at Martin Luther
voiceful.
King
And,
or even civil rights leaders, yes. Because
and
if
let
you
me
look
say
at Harriet
something
Tubman and all them,
about the
someone had
elected
to step out.
officials coming to the church. You're right. The elected officials are going to be coming to the church because they know that we have the largest gathering on Sundays and we can make a difference if we go out and vote. It's most critical that we vote this time. However, we want to hold our elected officials to the letter of the law. They come out, they make promises, they don't help us, they walk away, they give certain money to certain people, they don't give it to the urban churches. We need help from these elected officials, and we need to send a message. Is this what your agenda is? We're going to hold you to your agenda, or we're going to vote you out the next time. Or this is your agenda. If you're voted in, we're going to be sitting in your office the next day after you are elected, and we're going to hold you responsible. And if you don't do what's right, we're going to protest in front of your office and let everybody know you made promises just to get our vote. See, I'm tired of people pimping the black vote. I'm tired of people pimping the black vote. The black vote is very
Amen.
powerful, but yet people come out, they pimp us, and then they leave us. And I'm so sick and tired of people pimping the black vote. Oh, we hear all this stuff you're going to promise us before you get elected. And then when you get elected, guess what? You don't even come back. You don't even know who we are. What church? What this? What's that? And we've got to hold people responsible. This is War Cry. This is an urban radio
There you
station.
go.
We're not getting no funds from the government to say this. We're not a reality show that's promising our kids that if you get your body augmented, that you're going to be beautiful. We're telling you that you are beautifully and wonderfully made from the time God created you. See, we got a different message, Pastor. See, our message is not the same message of the world. So the world is always going to be in opposition against the word of God. But this is war cry. We want to pray for the kids. We want to go to the streets. We want kids to be saved and not to be killed prematurely. We look over this week. Look what happened. Trump, how in the world, in America, do you have an ex-president get 34 counts and all of them is guilty? Tell me that. Tell me that. And then people are saying that the truth is not the truth. Well, you know what? I got 5 Central 5 boys. They were boys then that were men that was put in jail with this same ex-president taking out an ad on the New York Times calling them savages only to find out they were innocent. Where's the apology to that? But we don't have that. We don't hold people accountable. We don't hold them responsible. So those boys' lives were taken away. But we got an ex-president with 34 counts who's making threats. Now, let me tell you something. His lawyers and the DA lawyers, both of them, they made an agreement on who was going to be on their jury. His people agreed, his lawyers agreed, that these jurors was going to be the ones that was going to hear the case and render a verdict. Period. Now, the jurors are in question. We are hearing it's alleged that they're being threatened. The diversity of the judge was brought out. He was Hispanic. I didn't know he was Hispanic. I looked at him as a judge. If I got to deal with a judge, I don't look at their backgrounds. I just want him to be fair, just like the righteous judge of that Jesus is. But everything, this is an atrocity that we're living in a country that this can take place. The world is laughing at us. The world is laughing at us because of what's going on in our country. I don't know if ex-President Trump was guilty or not. I don't know, but it was 12 jurors that made a decision, and it's his right to appeal. I got that. I understand that. But it's his right to say the things he's saying. You mean you got to put a gag law on a president? Ex-president, they should stand for justice. He was the CEO of the United States of America. He's supposed to be a resemblance of what we call justice. Why is it necessary that you've got to tell him how to talk in America? Now, you've always told Black people how to talk. I told my grandson, I said, freedom is not free. We can never say we want. I would never make a threat against any of our elected officials. I would never make a threat against nobody. But we see things in this country that's going on that's definitely unfair, and we're going to call it out. This is war cry. Our children can't get a fair shake because there's so much going on that you lock them up. You lock them up. Build new jails and lock them up. What do you think about this, Pastor?
Well, you know what happened? It's not fair at all. And then what happened is when you look at this, if he get away with this, hear me out, then everyone that's follow him is going to try to do the same thing, and it puts us down. If Obama would have did just one thing, not 3 or 4, one thing that he would have did, Obama would have been out a long time ago. Think about that. They wouldn't even have no jury for Obama. This is how corrupt this country is. And it's sad. We say that we trust God. In God we trust. This America was built on God. But now you look at this country, we call it wrong right, and we call it right wrong. And this is this. But the Bible speaks about things like this already. So we're going to expect it. But it's up for us to make a change. When the people get together, praying, and voicing our opinion and working as one, we could change this country around. But it's going to take all of us to start working as one. When we be fighting amongst ourselves and hurting one another, how can we fight against the enemy? This is our problem. We got to get together. Churches
we can. Mr. Trump compared himself to Abraham Lincoln and said he did more for the blacks than Abraham Lincoln did. Well, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Trump, I take exception with that rule, that statement that you made, and I'm going to let you know Abraham Lincoln really didn't do anything for the blacks. You need to go back and read your history. He didn't free us. I need for you to understand that. That's why we're celebrating Juneteenth right now. because
Yes.
we were celebrating July the 4th for so long. And, that's why, and go back and look at, and for you to make a statement like that, you did so much for the black. I mean,
No.
what did you do? I
Hmm.
mean, we should be up and rage about statements that people are making. Like I said, I
Yes.
am all for the letter of the law. If you do the crime, you do the time. This is war
Correct.
cry, and this is Christ generated. Guess what? Yes, everyone is due to due process. I get it. I understand it, even though we haven't got due process, but I get it and I understand it.
No.
This is America. And let me tell you, the greatest country that has ever been, America. But we've got some injustices going on. Let due process take place for our ex-president. He's entitled to that. And if these are alleged things and something happened that was not right, he's entitled to fair due process. But so is every black man, so is every black kid, so is we're all entitled, every brown, every Native American, we're all under the same law. Justice is not always fair. Now let's look at what we dealt with this weekend, over the last 2 weekends, and see where
Yeah.
justice really is just not fair. Engineer, put the first video on.
Yeah, Diane and Val, the shooting victims range in age from 2 years old to 77 years old, representing every part of the city. This despite a collaborative public safety effort the new mayor hopes to implement all summer. Over the holiday weekend, by our count, at least 50 people were shot, 10 killed. A man was critically wounded in the back of the Yards neighborhood. In this South Chicago home, another man was shot in the face. Overnight Monday, 3 people ages 57 to 77 were wounded while standing on a sidewalk in Calumet Heights. And in Lakeview, 4 people were shot in 2 separate shootings. One of the victims was 35-year-old William Hare, shot and killed while walking with a friend. Mayor Brandon Johnson spent the weekend at various neighborhood gatherings aimed at keeping streets safe. Last week, he touted a holistic approach to public safety this summer with new funding to support community groups, but says we have a tremendous amount of work to do.
Poverty didn't go away over the weekend. Like, we understand that when communities have been disinvested in and traumatized, that you're seeing the manifestation of that trauma.
And later this morning, community activists and residents in Lakeview will be holding a press conference calling attention to this weekend's violence.
Watch breaking news on YouTube.
Okay. Now, over the Memorial Day weekend in Chicago, 50 people were shot.
Shut. Yeah.
10 people were killed. The shooting age ranged from a 2-year-old to a 70-year-old. So all ranges of people were shot and killed within that 24, 48-hour weekend, from Friday 6 p.m. to Monday 6 a.m. Now, the mayor in Chicago did try to be proactive. As a matter of fact, he gave special funding to the community groups, to those that were crisis management. He gave the money out to keep them on the streets for intervention purposes, but yet we still had 50 people shot, 10 people killed, and between a 6 a.m., a 2-year-old was shot, all the way from a 70-year-old. And let me tell you something, a 5-year-old was killed as well. Now, this is the reality of what we've got to deal with in our urban communities, along with everything else that's dividing us. People should not be divided a time that we're facing such a critical time this year. This is 2024. We're not looking at 2023. We're looking at this year. The churches must be involved with the mayor of Chicago, and our mayor should be looking at what the mayor in Chicago attempted to do to lessen gang violence. What do you think about this, Pastor?
I definitely agree with you there. In order for us to get rid of this gang violence and everything, the church has to be active also. We have to hit the streets, speak to our young men, speak to our young women. But the thing is, all this begins at the home. See, we got to teach that in the church. It begins at the home. Train up a child in the way it should go. A lot of times, these gang members and everything, their parents go to church. They're in the church in the four wall, but they don't speak to the parents. The parents don't even know what they're doing in the house. We got to start taking over our own home. When we take over our home, then we know what's in our children's room. We know what our children is doing. A lot of parents don't know what their children are doing. And see, this we got to find something for them to do. When we was coming up, we had PAL, we had like daycare centers, we had different things, activities for the children. These children today have nothing out there to do. They're just running rapid in the
But what,
street. So
but
this is
what
where
they
the
do
gang comes
have,
in at.
Pastor, I need to interject. What they do have and what we didn't have, they have social media. See, our kids stay on social media all day and all night. They don't go outside and jump double dutch. We didn't have that. Our parents would tell us, no, turn that TV off. You're going outside. I don't care. It's hot, mama. I don't want to go out there. I don't care if it's hot or not. Well, there's nobody for me to play with. I don't care if there's nobody for you to play with. Just sit your butt down there, period. And then you would be so glad to see somebody with a double dutch so you can ask to come off the porch to go and jump double dutch. That's not the reality of what we're facing now.
Not now.
Our kids want to stay in. They want to deal with social media. I mean, TikTok alone has been banned. So what we're looking at now is the drilling down of TikTok, period. So that's why they're still on there. They got Instagram. They got social Facebook. They got and more. They got so much more. They got the dark web where they're dipping and dabbing in and everything is taking place. See, it's not like what we were. Our kids are not going to go to a community center. I went to the community center. I was glad to go to the community center. I had fun at the community center. Matter of fact, my best friends with, but see, that's not the society that we live in now. Social media is driving everything, along with drill music. It's driving everything. That's why I brought up about we got an ex-president that's dividing black and white, or white and black, or black people over here against black people. I don't know what's going on, period. But I'm concerned about this nation and our children, because while we're focusing on that, the enemy is hitting us on this. There's new kinds of drugs that have hit the street. We got smoke shops that our kids are going in. We got human trafficking happening. Our children, while we over here fighting a political war, and you know what? Do what you gotta do. I'm not mad at that. The lawyers, let them do it. But some of us have got to stand on this wall and fight for our inheritance. Because whether they know it or not, the children, if this generation is eliminated, you're not going to have no voters. You cut out a whole sphere, a whole generation of voters that you're not going to have. Period. You're not going to have no church. Because without children and young people in a church, you have no growth. You're not going to have anything. AI is taking away the jobs. So they're not going to get a job no more at Burger King or McDonald's or Stop and Shop or Kroger's or Piggly Wiggly, wherever you are, or Lion King or wherever you are. Because guess what? AI is going to take away all those things. So that's going to push them more to social media and push them more to gang violence or doing something they should not do. All our kids are not in gang violence, but all of them are familiar with social media. See, they're familiar with social media. All of them are not in gang violence, but I guess one thing, I guess even those not in gang violence and doing things like that, I gather one thing to you, they all are spending about 4 hours on social media every day. They all got an iPhone or a Galaxy. They all connected to Facebook. They all texting and tweeting at each other. I guarantee you that. They all know drill music, and once the music goes in, it starts to process the brain. They all know that. And some of the old people know that. While they're building more jails, our kids are listening to things that they shouldn't be listening to. See, I want our kids to have a future. I really want, that's what War Cry is about. And I'm a strong component, just like you, of putting trades back into schools. I want to teach our kids to work with their hands and their minds. I want them to be able to
Yes.
build and create. I see they took all the vocations out. Why? Because that was the road to success, to entrepreneurship. If our kids become a carpenter, they can open up a business. If they become a brick mason, they can open up a business. If they become an electrician, they can get into IBEW and in the electrical unions and become not what they are doing now. And see, so college is not for all our kids, but guess what? An opportunity is. An opportunity is for all our kids. What you think about that, Pastor?
That is so true. Because when we was coming up, we had wood shop, we had home economic, we had different things in school. They don't hardly do that no more. And the sad thing about it, all the jobs is being eliminated when you look at it. So what skills do we have? We're getting put behind the 8 ball already. Think about this one. You know what it is, because what we have to do, churches, if possible, we have our own catering thing. We have our own hall. We have everything as exposure. We have everything right there. If we all work together, if you have a big church, you got a catering hall. You could have catering service. You can have different things. That's a job created for us. We got to find things for our people to do. Whereas we can get lawyers. Get this, send the children to school. They could become lawyers. They could be the lawyers of the church and different ones. They will come back and help the church. But we have to put it out there and push our children also to get the very best out of them. Sometimes we don't even do that for our own children. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in serving him, worshiping him, all that. But there's other things besides that we have to teach our children also. To education, to be on time for work, the different things, be punctual. We have to teach our children that. We're not teaching our children that today. When you really look at it, what are we really teaching our children to go out and get?
We,
You know,
co- community, we have got to take responsibility for our failures. The church has got to take responsibility for their failures. Back 10 years ago, I wrote a proposal. You and I know that in Brooklyn, on Fulton Street, matter of fact, Brooklyn is known as the Church of Boroughs. On Fulton Street,
yes,
there were at least 50 churches. I wrote a proposal, and one of the things that I was proposing was for the churches to stay open at strategic times. You know, if you got 50 churches, 10 open up on Monday so we could teach our kids about math. Okay, the other 10 open up on Tuesday so we could teach them about dance. Okay, the next 10 open up on Wednesday so we could teach them about electrical work. The next 10 open up so that we could have a conglomeration of churches with their doors open, teaching our kids about various things and keeping them off the streets. Well, you know what? That proposal was not accepted. Another one was accepted, and I won't even go into the one that was accepted because guess what? Why it wasn't accepted? Because it could work. I also asked for places like Targets, places like Walmart to sponsor us because the reality of it now is that you can't even walk in a store and get an aspirin because it's locked up. Petty
yes,
thievery has came across. You can't even get detergent unless you press a button for somebody to come and open it up because everything is locked up. Because what happens when the cost of living goes up and people don't have jobs and people don't have trades and people can't buy milk and eggs, people begin to steal. It's just the way
Correct.
it is. It's
That's
just the
reality.
way it is. But if we train people and train our young people, I mean, if we got a class of 100 graduating and we say, okay, 25 is going to 4-year colleges and the other 50 is going to take a trade. You're going to be a CNA. You're going to be a home attendant. You're going to be an LPN. You're going to take cosmetology. You're going to be a brick mason. You're going to be an electrician. You're going to be a plumber. You're going to open up your own business to cut grass. If we teach our kids skills and
Yes.
work with them to make a living, we can cut crime down. Period.
Definitely.
And that's the mindset that we've got to get. I mean, a lawnmower for a young person in an area can earn him money. Let me tell you something. I bought these 2 kids one time 2 shovels. And I said, what I want you to do is go up and down this community. And guess what? Knock on people's doors and ask them, do they want their driveways or their sidewalk shovel? That's what we do. We've got to invest and
Yeah.
give them ideas on how to do things, period. And that's what we've lacked at in our understanding. And I raise my hand. I have too. Cosmetology. I mean, you can make a lot of money braiding. Everybody wears
Yes.
braids. Okay. You don't want to go to college. You didn't like biology. You didn't like school. Okay, let us send you to a cosmetology so you could just learn how to braid. And you open up your own braiding area and just braid hair. We've got to think creatively for this generation. If not, what we've seen is what we are going to get. Let's bring the next video up. Bring the next video up. While she's bringing it up, because we don't hear the sound on it, it's another place in Philadelphia, which is another place that we're facing mass gun violence and also mass drug addictions. Our young people now are getting involved with hardcore drugs. And these smoke shops, which illegal, and I thank God for the mayor. Here it goes.
Weekend was marred by an outbreak of violence in Philadelphia. Police responded to 3 deadly shootings last night in less than an hour. The crimes happened in different parts of the city. Action News reporter Walter Perez live for us now at police headquarters with the details. Walter.
That's right, Shari. Action News actually receiving word of a string of shootings across the city just yesterday. But as you mentioned, 3 proved deadly, with all of them unfolding within the span of 60 minutes. Philadelphia's deadly hour began during the tail end of a block party on the 4900 block of Roar Street. Surveillance video recording the sound of shots fired and people running away right around 10:30 last night. The victim is identified as 34-year-old Devin Harris. His dear friend, Chris Sanders, says that Devin was devoted to his family, which included a young daughter. And Chris says that Devin was more like a brother to him.
Can't break that bond. Like he always gonna be our brother, always, forever. It's just sad that nonsense like this always happen to innocent people.
In fact, Sanders says that Devin was not the intended target, and now the world is without a truly special person.
He was everything. He inspired people to do better. Love going to the gym, man, working out every day. Like
30 minutes later, a 23-year-old man was shot and killed on the 2500 block of Stanley Street in Strawberry Mansion. That victim was shot repeatedly in the neck and the chest and pronounced dead a short time later at Temple University Hospital. Then finally, at approximately 11:15 p.m., a 55-year-old woman was shot in the head and killed on the 2900 block of West Wishart Street. Action News spoke with the victim's daughter, who says her mom, Tanya Shelton, had been living on that block since the 1970s.
My mom was a really good
Wow.
person. She didn't deserve that to happen to her. My mom was very sweet. She was a social butterfly.
So far, no arrests reported from any of these shootings. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Reporting live from police headquarters, Walter Perez, Channel 6 Action News. Shari?
Okay, Walter, thank you.
Okay, engineer.
Wow.
I want to know, what are these politicians going to do about this? Why aren't they addressing this? I understand about a lot of different things, but why aren't you addressing this? I'm not hearing no one, no presidential candidate, or Mr. Biden. I don't hear you addressing this. I need you to address this. This is just like COVID. It's killing people. And I'm sorry, I'm not politically correct, but I'm Christ correct because this is war cry. This is like COVID. This is over the weekend. If you look at the states, you will see Detroit. Look at California. Look at New York. Look at Atlanta. Look at all the lives that was lost during Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend. Every time we gather, there appears to be so much gun violence, so much animosity, so much hate. How can a 2-year-old be shot? Why do we have, this is not Vietnam. These young people that are doing the shooting, they haven't went to the range for target practice. They're just taking a gun, and they're hitting any and everybody. We got to get to the root of this anger. We got to get to the root of it. And one of it is the dysfunction of the family structure that has broken down to almost zero. And guess what? For all those listeners that say, well, I got a husband and we never experienced that. I understand that. And guess what? But let me tell you something. If your kids got to walk out that door and deal in this world, you better come to a reality that this is the reality that we're dealing with. And you better get on the bandwagon to try to work with us to get solutions. Now, if you raised your child and it's all well, then you need to have a parenting group and come and in the urban areas and help some of these other young mothers and young fathers parent their children. You need to give back what God has afforded you to have. And that's all I have to say about that. Because we're in this together. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're independent. And I don't care if you're a Democrat. We are fighting against the wrong things. And we got this inner hate for races that we haven't even done anything. All we want to do is just to live our lives. We don't have anybody protecting us. We've got to be the voice of the urban community and to pray. So guess what, Mr. Biden? I need you to answer these questions too. I understand that we're talking about the 34 guilties that Mr. Trump got. I got that. But the justice system will take care of that, whether you think it's fair or you don't think it's fair. But let the justice system take care of that. I'm talking about a 2-year-old getting shot. A 5-year-old getting killed in our urban communities. I'm talking about we need more money to give to these groups that are out here doing preventive measures with what's going on. The church needs to open up the doors. Community centers need to open up and bring in trade. I'm talking about if you're retired from your jobs, the volunteer to teach a young kid how to be an electrician, how to be a plumber, how to have OSHA, how to flat. That's what I'm talking about. Women included. We need to give back. What do you think, Pastor?
I definitely agree with you there wholeheartedly. 100%, 110%. I agree with you on that one. Remember how it used to be when we was coming up? You look out for your children.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're mute.
Gotcha. There you go. And I agree with you. I'm still muted. You hear me now?
No, I hear you now.
Okay, good.
I
What
hear
I'm
you
saying,
now.
I agree with you 100. Okay, great. I agree with you 110%. What you just said is perfect. We have to work together. Remember when we was coming up, the next door neighbor will look out for our children, and our parents will look out for their children. We gotta go back to that again. Work as a village, as one. We got to get ourselves together, but we got to get after Biden. Hey, we need the funds. We're suffering right here, and it's only going to get worse if we don't get the funds to help us. We need the funds. You're giving people money to people that don't really need it. And when I say they don't need it, their neighborhood's nice and good. They don't have no time. They got their daycare center. They got everything going for them. You're gonna give them more money. We're struggling. We need to open up a daycare center. We need to close down some of these smoke shops, but we cannot do it without funding. We cannot do it, and we need the funding. But we, as a people, we got to get together. One person, you could break one person, but if you get like 100 of us, a group of us together, ain't no way you're gonna break none of us. It's the same thing with a toothpick. You look at that toothpick, you can break one toothpick, but you put all those toothpicks together, you can't break that. And that's what we have to become as one. And that's the only way we can do this. And like I said, it takes not only me, but I got to look out for my neighbors' children. We got to look out for each other. Are we doing that? Is the church doing that? Let's talk about the church now. What is the church really doing? Are we caring for the children? Are we opening up our doors like we should? Giving them programs. If we do our part, that maybe the city can fund us and help us out. But if we're not doing anything, how can we get anything? We got to start working.
Absolutely.
Start working now.
Absolutely.
It's
I'm asking,
it's not summertime
I'm
yet.
asking
It's
all the carpenters, all the electricians, all the plumbers. And I've had this conversation with a friend of mine who is a skilled craftsman. I've asked him, will you volunteer your time to help our children? And he said, yes. Teach them how to be flagmen on construction jobs. I on the show, I think it's going to be on about June the 17th. We're going to have a pastor who is employed by John J. John Jay College. And he's going to tell us about that federal government has passed a bill so that even though our kids have felonies, they can still get student loans. I want to hear that because I want the churches to know that our kids, even though they may have felonies, they can still get student loans to make a difference in their life. The bill was just passed. And I said to him, I said, the churches don't know this. He said, oh, no, the churches do. I said,
no,
maybe the mega churches do. I said, but the smaller
correct,
churches, we're the one dealing with the problem. And
correct.
he's going to be on
And I never
here,
heard
I
that.
think it's June the 17th. And I'm going to invite a panel of pastors, and he's going to explain to us how our kids, even though they have a felony, depending on the felony, they can still get a government loan and go to college. Because we need this information. A lot of the information is not being passed down to the people who need it.
Correct,
Coming soon, I'm
correct.
going to have another broadcaster from the Netherlands. I was on her show last Monday. She's from the Netherlands. She's going to be on the show talking about some of the same problems that we're facing over here in the United States. This is just not a problem for us. This is a worldwide, global problem that we have to do. That's why I tell people, if you want to help, you can get a t-shirt from me free. All you got to do is come on hit me up on the Gmail, warcry.children@gmail.com, warcry.children@gmail.com. Send me your size, your address, what school district you're going to be praying for, or what school you're going to be praying for, or what bus stop you're going to be praying for. And I will send you a shirt that says, I am praying for our children. Put prayer back in. We need to let our children know that we're praying for them. Then I'm having some t-shirts made up that for our children to wear that says, somebody is praying for me. Because our children need to know we're not going to leave them alone. It's our responsibility to pray and to cover our children. It breaks my heart to hear about so much gang violence, so much premature death, so much human trafficking. And the human trafficking motto is, find me before I'm murdered. How do you think we feel as a people when we go and see things like that, of the things that are happening in our communities, and we act like our hands are tied? But you know what? Your hands may be tied, but your mouth is not. So it's time for us to open up our mouth. Listen, listen, listen. God has put us here as instruments to be used for his glory. Why do you
Yes.
think we did not perish in COVID? Why do you think he left us here? He left us here to make a difference in this world. And that's what we're going to do. Pastor, back at you.
Yes, that is so true, because what happens is we have to cry loud. It's time out, just preaching the word of God and preaching to ourselves. But when you get vital information, you got to give it to the neighborhood and help our neighborhood. What's the sense of getting all this information and not passing it out? But the thing is, a lot of information out there we don't get a chance to receive. I know me myself personally. If I receive something, some information, I pass it out my congregation and into my neighborhood to make sure everyone gets a piece of the pie. And that's what we have to do. Don't keep it to yourself. Some churches, they get the information and they don't share it with nobody. We have to start sharing the information that we get. And like I said, I never heard about that one when you come out of prison that you can get loans and I didn't hear that one.
Yeah.
So that would be good, because we got a lot of people in our neighborhood that would need that and that would help them. And then when they get the degree, you don't know what they can do from there. They got to be an entrepreneur. But the thing is, we got to give them the opportunity. So as soon as we get the opportunity, we as a church got to pass it on to somebody else. This is how we make our neighborhood grow. This is how we invest to our people. We have to start doing that.
And I'm bringing the bishop on that fought for a bill on how to expunge our children's or our young people's records. They don't have to have all these charges on their records that prevent them from getting a job. He's coming in. He's working. He's one of the directors at York College in New York.
Nice.
Period. York has so many programs that our children can go to. Mega Evans has so many programs that our children can go to. I'm bringing on someone from Mega Evans. We've got to get, this is June, which is Juneteenth. Well, Juneteenth is a month of information to help our people. That's what it is. It's not just about putting on a shirt, talking about, yeah, this is a day that we will set aside. It's about getting information and moving us forward. And that's the love of Christ that we must have among each other. We're not information people. We want to hold everything. No. If you got a food bank and you have fed all the people in your line, then guess what you do? Call another church and say, listen, we've got extra food. We've already given it away. Do you have a neighborhood that needs food? Do that. We've got neighborhoods and pastors that don't have that. If whatever we do, we got to help. I don't care if it's a Baptist. I don't care if it's Methodist. I don't care if it's Catholic. Hey, let me tell you something. No denomination is going to heaven. You can think God has a side for Baptist or Catholic, but I'm going to tell you something. It's only one King, and it's only one Lord, and it's only one Savior. That's it. He's coming back for his people, and his people ain't got no denomination. What his people have is the love of Christ. He said that's the greatest commandment. It's love. And how can we do it if we don't stand together? Let's begin to share with each other, period. And pass information. But that's what War Cry is all about. This is War Cry. And guess what? You've already heard some of the things that we're going to be bringing here, bringing forth. Remember the Rosa Parks Museum? We had them on here. Remember to pray for them and to give to them. Remember Faith in Florida? We had them on here because Florida is undergoing, you know what we're facing in Florida. Remember Bruce Anton, the state representative who's trying to bring a Black museum in Orlando, Florida. Remember these events that we've had on here. Remember how we deal with trauma, Dr. O. Remember who we are. This is War Cry. Subscribe, support. I mean, I don't even know what else to tell you except it's War Cry for justice. And you see the injustice. But guess what? We got the righteous judge who is the judge of justice. And whether you know it or believe it or not, God is going to reign forever. Whether I don't care who goes in the White House, God is going to reign forever. We can't vote him out and we can't vote him in. Now, the only in vote we get is when we allow him to come into our heart. But you can't vote him out and you can't. He's going to be ruler over this universe, over every planet, whether you subscribe to him or not. He's still going to do it. And for your sake, he reigns on the righteous and the unrighteous. That's your sake. Guess what? This is War Cry. I thank you, Dr. Pang. I'm going to let you have the last closing remarks. If anything going on in your church, anything we could do to support you, please let us know.
Definitely. Well, one of the things that I want to tell the people, summertime is coming, so we're going to get out of the church and start going into the streets. That's what we're trying to hit the streets and try to hit our young people. And we're going to try to take corners. I'm asking every church if you can do it. Where your church at, just take that corner. Just tell people, you don't have to preach anything. Just say, hi, how you doing? We're here for you. You need us. We're here to assist you. That's what we have to start doing. Let the people know that we're here. And they'll start respecting and start listening to you. And like I said, we got to get out to the four corners, start hitting the streets. I'm a firm believer that. Start hitting the streets. And it's summertime, so the weather should be nice. While they're getting out there in the street, we need to be out there in the streets also. Again, thank you very much for the
We
invitation.
need to be in the streets. We need to be in the streets. Guess what? I was involved in a program one time in Brooklyn called 70 Blocks. Every church picked a block. 70 churches picked 70 different blocks. And we all hit the streets on the same day to show the presence of God and the love of God. And we've got to go out and hit those blocks, and not with a condemning spirit, but not with a judgmental spirit, but with the love of God. This is War Cry. Tune in. We got a lot of great things coming. Subscribe, pass it on. No, this is no reality show. This is not your fake reality. This is our real reality. And we've got to live it. Stay safe. Pray for a kid. Send me information, warcry.children@gmail.com. Give me your comments. Let me know what you want to do. And let's move forward. God loves you. God cares, and God shall always be with us. War Cry. I'll see you next week. This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence. Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up! Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry, galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in you. This is War Cry, candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
I know who goes before me.